with that being said, let's turn our attention to round 16 because things are going to get a little bit crazy in this one, especially with some of the possible outcomes from these games. It's time to get into our official tips for round 16. And the game that's going to be starting us all off is going to be a fairly interesting one against Brisbane and the Doggies. In fact, it might have been a little bit more interesting a couple days ago, given how the lists have shaken out for either team. But with this is an interesting one, Tip Donnie, because of course the Doggies going through their injuries troubles, and Brisbane is getting some key players back. One team is riding a hot streak, the other one just suffered a massive loss and to the hands of the Demons. I am okay, obviously, with Brisbane being the favorite among betting odds and tipsters, but I wasn't expecting a 91% side to the Lions in this one.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that a little bit too, but then I think the reason that some of it has changed is because some of the teams have already been announced, and some of the outs for Western Bulldogs are big. English is not back. Caleb Daniels is now out, which is a huge mover of the footy off the half-back line. So there's some big outs there, and it sounds like Zorko should be back. It sounds like Bailey should be back. They'd both be out of health and safety protocols issues. So Brisbane is kind of pretty much back to full strength now, which they weren't against the Melbourne Demons. So that's why I'm not as shocked about the change. I think the Doggies are strong. I think they're still in this. But I think, honestly, if I'm the Brisbane Lions, this is your chance to put a statement game together against the team that kind of embarrassed you, that kind of got you last year on your home ground last year to get to the grand final. So this is the Lions' chance. This is the Lions' chance to kind of put themselves back into that conversation of flag contender. You hand a whooping to this Duggies team, and you're right back in the talk for the flag.
Are they going to do it?
I think this is a tough game. I think the Lions edge this, but I don't think this is not a whooping. I mean, even without English, even without Caleb Daniels, there's still some danger there. I think Naughton is never an easy matchup. Most likely Andrews will get that matchup. Does Yamaro Ugle-Hagan step up and play big? Unfortunately, Josh Bruce, who we thought was going to come back, had a little bit of a setback, so he'll be probably another couple weeks. They do get Lachie Hunter back, which is not a perfect sub for Caleb Daniels, but it does bring some more depth to that midfield. So we'll have to see, does somebody shift back in that situation? We'll have to see on that. I just think the Lions have better ins compared to the Dogs having better outs. That's, I think, there. So I'm tipping Brisbane, but I think this is going to be a cracker.
And given the criteria that we got and that we're taking a look at right now, with how heavily favored they are on both the betting odds and the Brisbane Lions, of course, in my almighty rulebook that switches anytime it benefits me. It's my show. I can do what I want, damn it. This is qualifying as my bold tip of the round. Starting us off, I'm going with the Western Bulldogs on this one. And most importantly, because there's not really another team that I feel comfortable betting on when it comes to trying to find the bold one. There's certainly some more bold picks I can make, but when it comes to being realistic, like, I'm a few games back in our tipping competition. I'm really not trying to get screwed over too much, but Let's start things off.
That was honesty personified, sir. That was classic.
The one thing I am with you. If I am anything to you guys, it is the word of the day: transparent. And one thing that is also transparent is how bad the St. Kilda Saints have been recently. They take on the Carlton Blues at Marvel Stadium. How's that for a transition? And Carlton is being tipped at 91% according to the AFL website, and they are about $1 of a betting favorite. And I could see this being a close game, of course. But given the way St. Kilda's looked recently, ain't no way I'm tipping them in this one.
St. Kilda's horrible form in Carlton, hotter than a firecracker. I've got Carlton, but I think a couple of ins for St. Kilda may give St. Kilda a little bit of a good boost here. Getting Paddy Ryder and Brad Hill both back for this game, I think, are going to be nice additions. Do they get St. Kilda over their horrible form? I don't think so, but I think this game is much closer. This is a game. If I'm Carlton, this is a trap game for me, because this is a game everybody has now jumped on your bandwagon and has said, well, you're going to beat the Saints. You should beat the Saints. The Saints aren't playing well. This is a game that is scary. If I'm a Carleton fan, this is a scary game because this is the Saints. They're back against the wall. They have to win if they want to stay in finals contention. So this is a dangerous, dangerous opponent. Carleton win this, but I think the Saints keep this. I think the Saints get their you-know-what together, and I think they make this a much closer game I think some people are thinking.
I'm on you with this one. Trap game, absolutely. It should be a game within a few goals is kind of what I'm thinking here. But, man, Carlton better win this one if they really want to keep their hopes up for the top 4. And speaking about keeping their hopes up in finals positions, if the Swans lose to the team that just lost to the West Coast Eagles, Don, I'm going to have a lot of questions for you next week. So I'm obviously going to tip Sydney over this one because they really better not lose to Essendon.
Oh, this is another one where
you thinking trap game?
This could be a trap game. I'm thinking.
Are you thinking that as a Sydney fan or as the coach?
My coaching brain is definitely the one that's telling me this. Again, I'm also a pessimist sometimes when it comes to it because, well, again, Sydney has had some games against teams of lower quality that they have not played well. So I'm going off form a little bit, and I'm going off previous situations. I think Sydney wins this, donning my Sydney Swans hat. I think they can win this big if they get going because Essendon is not playing well. The biggest question, and I've seen this a couple of times, is do the Bombers kind of get the gumption to try to go after Luke Parker after Parker embarrassed Dylan Shield at the SCG a few weeks ago?
You got that Exxon's back this round, doesn't he?
I don't see it because I think it's a ridiculous point. I think it needs to be moved on because I don't really see how that's going to help Essendon. So personally, I don't think it should be done. Unfortunately, I don't know how people are going to handle it. We'll have to see. I think Sydney wins this. I think Essendon's competitive, but I think Sydney has just a little too much late. I don't think this is a massive win, but I think it could be at least 4 or 5 goals.
That'd be a great move for the Sydney if they can just look strong against a poor opponent. At the least, though. With this next one, I mean, Melbourne better be all the way back if they want to beat a team as prestigious and as dominant as the Adelaide Crows. Who am I kidding? I got Melbourne in this one. They better not lose to the Crows. Otherwise, they just answered a lot of questions. If this is even, I think if this is even a close game, like a 2-goal game, there's still going to be questions that arise on terms of Melbourne's form.
Adelaide is a team that honestly, when they play their best footy, can be competitive against most teams. But Melbourne is not most teams. I think Melbourne wins this, but I'm not gonna fully poo-poo on the Crows because they're at home. And we know what happened last year when Melbourne came in undefeated. The Crows knocked them off. You just never know. Adelaide Oval sometimes can be a place that can be quite difficult to go. I think Melbourne wins this one, but I think it is more competitive than some people think. But this is your tester. Can the D's put up a big number? Because if they can put up a big number, I'm going to start leaning more towards their back. If they stay with the Crows and the Crows stay with them, the questions maybe start to go, are the D's legit, or are there still some issues? So I'm going to gauge this one Melbourne, but I think it's closer than some think.
Speaking about putting up big numbers, let's take a look at this next game. Not only for what I'm expecting the win margin to be for the Geelong Cats, but also just taking a look at tipping in the betting odds. Right now, North is at $19 underdogs, just barely avoiding that $20 mark, unfortunately. But one thing I have never seen before, Donnie, I've seen 2%, I've seen 1% of people tipping a certain team. I have never seen, at least on the AFL website, 100% to 0% tipster odds. But now I have, because at least, like I said, according to the AFL tipping site, Geelong Cats are being tipped at a 100% rate over the North Melbourne Roos. And if that doesn't tell you the position that either team is in, I don't know what will. Donnie, I am not tipping North in this one. I am going to tip the Cats in the game that really should not be close at all.
I'm going to tip the Cats. I'm going to tip the Cats and tip them big. On my tipping thing, they at least got 1%. So there's somebody
throwing them a bone. ESPN throwing them a bone.
Throwing it out there. I got to give them the gumption a little bit on that one. I'm not gonna
or gumption
I'm not gonna waste a lot of words on this one. Cats and Cats big.
There we go. That's all we need. Now, the one game I am really interested in this round, especially when it came to tipping, is Gold Coast and Collingwood. If maybe we saw this, we got this game a round ago before what we saw the recent results from round 15, I would have the even harder time. I am feeling very strong in Collingwood's current form. But this is definitely a game that the Gold Coast Suns can take. It's going to be a very close game. I think this is going to be a very good game as well. I'll tip Collingwood, but watch out for Gold Coast.
I think this is going to be a fantastic game. This has all the mixings and the fixins to be
all the marbles, Donnie.
This is
all the marbles, especially for Gold Coast.
Got all the storylines to potentially be game of the round, legitimately. I'm a little surprised the tipping is as far fetched as it is. I mean, at least on mine, it's 63-37, which I think is a bigger.
I got 56 on mine, which is reasonable.
I'm much more apt to go to yours on 56 because I think this is much more of a coin toss game than I think some people want to give credit to. I think Collingwood's form over the last few rounds, I think, is the reason why so many people are tipping the Pies in this one. I'm going to tip the Pies, but I'm going to say it right now. This will not shock me if the Suns win this. This is up in Metricon, so it's going to be slick. It's going to be slippery. So can Collingwood continue the pressure and continue how they've played times before? This is going to be a humdinger. I can't wait to watch this one. I think this is going to be such a great game of football. But this is Gold Coast shot. If they want to make the finals, this is a scalp they need. And if they get it, who knows? Oh, it's a massive scalp at this point.
This could be a very big scalp for the Suns, man. In the game that going for a game that's probably going to be game of the round. This one isn't. Richmond and West Coast. Richmond probably by big.
I'm not as much on that train anymore because of some of the additions. I wish I knew the teams because there's talk Nick Nat might be back, which I think is massive for the Eagles. But that's about where I'm going to end it. I think Richmond still wins this because, again, West Coast does not travel well. Though this is a game that is going to be at the MCG, I think the Eagles are competitive. I think the Eagles are in it. I just think Richmond has too much, and being at home, I think, is much more an advantage. Richmond, but this is close. I think this is 2 goals max. I think the Eagles are in this because this is more the Eagles I thought we would have. Yes, they beat Essendon, so there's a little bit of grain of salt you could take. But I liked how they were playing, and I think there's a lot of confidence now in this group. And if they get Nick Nat back, that's a game changer. So,
Fair enough. I just love how Richmond pushed a team like the Geelong Cats. I think I almost said Jollingwood. Wow, that would be quite the matchup of a team.
That's gold.
Damn it. Oh, man, that would have been funny if I actually said it, but it's out of context, so you know what that means. It technically doesn't count. The next game we got here is GW's Giants taking on the Hawthorn Hawks at Giant Stadium. I think this is going to be a pretty close game. One of the few times I am actually tipping GWS in this one. So hopefully they can prove me right, get their 5th win of the season, and make me a little bit happy in my heart.
I have the Giants. I think the Giants played that game, this last game, really, really well. I think they started playing very, very good footy. I think they're starting to kind of find what they could look at over the next few years. Hawthorn, they're still in that developmental stage. I still think there's a few things that they're still trying to kind of get fixed. They're kind of slowly changing the guard in the midfield, and I think it's affecting a few things, but I think in the long run it's going to end out being more beneficial. I'm going to have the Giants in this one at home, but the Hawks are competitive, so this isn't one of those runaways. I think this is going to be another good game of football.
No. And definitely can't be a runaway when the GWS Giants are playing. No matter what, it always seems like it's going to be a close game when it's against teams that they should beat. And then for this last game, I am really, really interested in this last game based on what both teams need to see right now and based off their performances in round 15. We got the Frio Dockers take on Port Adelaide at Optus. Now, maybe at Optus is the only thing that could justify this, but I am pretty surprised. This is another game I'm pretty surprised by the tipping percentages because on the AFL website, it's 91% for Frio. I was expecting this to be a bit closer, maybe in that 60 to 70 percentage point range. I am going to tip Frio in this one. I think they jump back at Optus. But, man, this is going to be a really close game, man. I think if anything is going to upset Collingwood and Gold Coast for game of the round, it's going to be this one.
This is going to be a cracker, and this is another – I 100% agree with you. Where's this game being played? Is this being played at Freo or is this being played at Port Adelaide?
Right.
Because it does.
The question for any Freo game.
The tip especially for Fremantle. I think Fremantle kind of – they got the reality check from Carlton. I think their defensive structure will give Port Adelaide some headaches a little bit. I think Darcy is going to have a field day at the rock spot. I'm going to go with Fremantle, but this is another one. I have this feeling this could be a round that is going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be a ton of blowouts or it's going to be a ton of crackers that come down late. And I would love for them all to come down late because that just makes our conversation next week that much better. So I'm cheering for this to really, really happen. That I'm hoping, really, really hoping that that this comes down to the end. I'm going to tip Fremantle in this one, but I will not be shocked if Port can find a way to get a win because Port is playing much better footy. Will the loss of Riley Bonner be interesting since he has that facial fracture? He'll be out for a few weeks. So that's a loss on the back line that will be interesting to see how Port handles that loss in the back line.